This is not my first experience with French entrepreneurs. It's my first experience with Mass Challenge coming in as having you come in as an organized group to talk to Mass Challenge. But I've worked with a number of French entrepreneurs on a one-on-one basis in the past number of years, including some that were both successful and some who failed. So the question you're asking is if everyone's the same everywhere. And I think there are some things that are culturally different in different places that are important to pay attention to. But I do think some of the techniques that we talk about here, about identifying problems properly up front, testing the hypotheses that you have about your business up front, those work globally. What may be different locally is different cultural thresholds for how badly somebody wants to solve a problem. So for example, what it might take to solve a problem in the medical industry in France might be different from what it takes to solve that problem, or how willing someone is to solve that problem in Germany or in Britain or in the US. So the level of urgency of the problem may vary per culture, but the technique used to identify the problem and try to qualify whether it's a big enough problem to solve in that market is still the same. There's also just not so much about how you run the business, but what it means to run a business that changes in cultures. I just got back from Colombia. I spent some time in the UK and France and Germany and in Sweden around the cultural acceptance of failure. And this varies from country to country. In the US, for many years, for much of my career, failing at a startup was not actually very well accepted. It's only been in the last few years where we've started to develop these techniques around early learning and failing quickly if you're going to fail, where it's become a little bit more acceptable to fail. I don't think that Europe and South America and Asia have gotten that far, but I do see evidence that it's changing. Because I think there's the ability to see what happens in other parts of the world where that failure is a little more culturally okay, and what can come from that, and the positive change that can come from accepting that failure is a little bit better. I think it's increasingly more acceptable to fail in the countries and the parts of the world where it isn't yet. It's still hard there, but I think you can point in France to the US and say, look, here's how you do it. It's okay, because sometimes the second time around an entrepreneur tries a business will be better because they picked a problem the first time that wasn't very hard, and they'll learn from that. And the next time they'll say, I need to pick a harder problem. I actually am an investor in a couple of companies where I actually don't believe the entrepreneur is solving a particularly hard problem right now, but they're going to be a great entrepreneur. I can see it already. So my investment in this company is actually a bet on the ability to invest in their next company, because I know if I back them now and if I help them now and then they fail because this business is not going to go anywhere, they'll appreciate my help enough to let me come in and back them in their second company. So it's okay, and if you see those kinds of benefits as a culture, you'll say, aha, it's okay to fail.